Welcome back. As a quick recap, Limer reflected on his past, remembering when his core was destroyed, but as he looked at Raon's group, he felt grateful for a second chance. Despite his shortened lifespan, Limer has no regrets about his decision. If you're new here or need a refresher, feel free to catch up on the previous part before diving into this new chapter. Now that we're all on the same page, let's begin. The scene shifts to the majestic Sieghart's palace. The patriarch of Sieghart's eyes lock onto Limer, a hint of surprise in his voice. Say that again. The patriarch's eyes widen in shock as he seeks clarification. Did you say Raon fought against Eden's mad blood demon? He asks, his gaze fixed intently on Limer. Limer's words have left the patriarch stunned. Limer bursts into laughter, clearly entertained by the patriarch's reaction. "Ha! I knew you'd be surprised, my lord," Limer says with a grin. "I hurriedly ran over here just to see this reaction. It was worth it." But the patriarch's shock quickly turns to anger. "Shut up," he thunders. "Get straight to the point." Limer's grin fades, and he begins to recount the events. "I saw it with my own eyes. Raon, fighting against Eden's mad blood demon," Limer says, his tone serious. "I couldn't believe it either, even though it unfolded right before my eyes," he admits. "However, I swear that I have spoken only the truth, without any deceit." Limer's eyes lock onto the patriarch, his expression unwavering. Limer presses on, his words painting a vivid picture. "It wasn't just me," he says, his tone firm. "The trainees from the 5th and 6th training grounds, who were carrying out the mission, and the Cebu villagers, they all saw it as well." He pauses for emphasis. How Raon fought the mad blood demon, on his own. The weight of Limer's testimony grows, as he reveals that multiple witnesses can attest to the unbelievable truth. The patriarch's expression turns grave. "The mad blood demon should be a match for even a sword master," he says, his voice laced with concern. "If what you say is true, then how much damage did they suffer?" Limer's expression turns somber. "Most of them are only lightly injured," he reports. "But Raon is seriously injured from fighting the mad blood demon." The patriarch's eyes widen in alarm, his mind racing with the implications. Limer's voice remains steady. "Yet he still managed to survive until my arrival," he says, emphasizing Raon's remarkable endurance. The patriarch's eyes narrow, his expression skeptical. "Are you telling me to believe that?" he asks, his tone incredulous, as if questioning the plausibility of Limer's words. Limer's eyes lock onto the patriarch's, his expression deadpan. "I know, it sounds nonsensical," he admits, "but you'll have no choice but to believe it too, once you see that Raon has become a sword expert, my lord." The air is thick with tension as Limer drops this bombshell, leaving the patriarch stunned. Limer's words continue to astonish the patriarch. "He even managed to survive against the mad blood demon, whose prowess matches a master's," Limer says, emphasizing Raon's incredible feat. "It didn't feel at all regrettable when we used the Elvrin sap on him." The patriarch's eyes widen in shock. "Elvrin sap?" he asks, his voice trembling with surprise. "But that's the sap of the second world tree, a priceless treasure." Limer stands firm, his expression unwavering. "But what he's done deserves it," Limer responds, conviction in his voice. The patriarch's eyes narrow, suspicion creeping into his tone. "It sounds like you're giving him preferential treatment," he says, his words dripping with skepticism. Limer's eyes widen in surprise. "Preferential," he echoes, taken aback. "I'm just..." He pauses, taking a deep breath before continuing. "Trying to help them, so that Raon and the others can grow," Limer explains, his voice filled with sincerity. The patriarch's gaze pierces through Limer, as if searching for any hidden intentions. "I see," he says, his voice low and measured, leaving Limer wondering what thoughts are brewing behind his enigmatic expression. The patriarch's attention shifts, his eyes locking onto his butler, Ren. "Ren, summon the division leaders," he instructs, his voice firm and authoritative. "We'll hold a conference as soon as the trainees return." Ren bows his head, his expression impassive. "Understood, my lord," he responds, his voice crisp and obedient. The patriarch's expression softens, a hint of warmth in his eyes as he turns back to Limer. "You've had a tough time, Limer," he says, his voice tinged with empathy. Limer's eyes widen in surprise, his gaze snapping back to the patriarch, his face a picture of astonishment at the unexpected display of concern. Limer's face breaks into a wide smile as he climbs the stairs. "Wow," he says, his voice laced with amusement. "When was the last time you complimented me? Almost 20 years ago?" The patriarch's expression turns irritated, his eyes narrowing. "Where do you think you're climbing?" he asks, his tone stern. The patriarch's expression remains stern, but a hint of dry humor creeps into his voice. I would have offered you so many more compliments if you hadn't engaged in all that stupidity. His expression turns serious, and he asks, so, when are the trainees scheduled to return? Limer's expression turns thoughtful as he responds, as for the trainees, they should. He trails off, pausing for a moment. Then the scene shows the trainees near the Sieghart's palace. Be about to arrive, he finishes, his eyes gazing into the distance, as if expecting their imminent return. The scene shifts to Raon, his expression contemplative as he reflects on their recent mission. The mission in Cebu village concluded successfully, he thinks to himself, a hint of relief in his mental tone. Even though it took more time than scheduled, because of Eden's intervention, he adds, a hint of frustration creeping into his thoughts as he recalls the unexpected complication. Raon's thoughts continue, a mix of responsibility and regret in his mental tone. Since the village ended up being damaged unexpectedly by the Mad Blood Demon's assault, we stayed a bit longer in order to restore the destroyed village, he recalls, his thoughts reflecting on the team's efforts to make things right. Raon's thoughts drift back to his recovery period in the chief's house. Since I was drastically injured, I stayed in the chief's house and focused on recovering. Raon's memories shift to the moment he regained consciousness. When I first opened my eyes, I checked the reward for winning my bet with Wrath. A hint of amusement crosses his mind. Of course, Wrath insisted that the bet should be nullified because Limer had slain the Mad Blood Demon, not me. Raon's expression turns slightly wistful. The stats I got from the bet were nice, but... Wrath's face contorts in frustration as he gazes at the system reward. Damn it, why did it have to be that one in particular? He exclaims in anger. Raon, meanwhile, is calm as he examines the system. His eyes scan the details before he asks, puzzled, what's this? The system reveals the reward for the bet, and Raon's eyes widen as he reads the details. A trait of Wrath's has been created as the second reward of the bet, the system announces. The trait is named Iron Will, and its effects are revealed. Iron Will reduces pain by momentarily increasing willpower upon receiving severe physical or mental damage. Raon's gaze lifts, and he looks at Wrath with a mixture of surprise and curiosity. Raon's eyes sparkle with intrigue as he thinks to himself, Iron Will, I didn't expect to obtain a trait through. A hint of a smile plays on his lips as he realizes the implications of this new trait. With this trait, I can resist like before even after receiving Wrath's wrath. Raon's thoughts are filled with a sense of anticipation and strategy, already thinking about how he can utilize Iron Will to his advantage. Wrath's gaze narrows as he looks at Raon, his thoughts seething with frustration. How could Iron Will go to a brat like him? He thinks to himself, disdain etched on his face. Wrath's expression twists in annoyance as he realizes the system's design is working against him. It's becoming an issue because the system is too well designed. The King of Essence's system is designed to prioritize creating the ability that the user needs most. Wrath's eyes flash with anger as he thinks about the implications. I'd be able to take over his body now if not for that trait. Wrath's thoughts continue, his anger simmering just below the surface as he grits his teeth. However, he takes a deep breath and attempts to calm himself. No. I need to calm down. I have plenty of time anyway. Wrath's expression turns calculating as he reflects on the current situation. The rate at which the King of Essence is recovering his abilities is steadily accelerating, even if just slightly. A hint of satisfaction creeps into his thoughts, and I even managed to plant the emotion of wrath in the brat. Wrath's eyes gleam with anticipation, his patience and cunning on full display. Wrath's gaze lingers on Raon, his thoughts dripping with contempt. He's growing rapidly for a human, Wrath thinks to himself, but the King of Essence will prevail in the end. A cold, calculated smile spreads across his face. Just wait, your body and soul belong to the King of Essence. Wrath's eyes flash with malevolence. The moment the King of Essence emerges victorious, a bastard like you will be locked under the glacier for eternity. The scene shifts back to the present, where the trainees are standing in front of Sieghart's external commander, Iliun. Iliun's gaze sweeps across the trainees before he speaks up. Welcome back. As the trainees stand before Iliun, their exhaustion is palpable. The weight of their long and arduous journey hangs in the air. Dorian whispers to himself, I want to go back and rest already. Runan suddenly pipes up, beer ice cream. Martha lets out a relieved sigh. Ugh, I thought I was going to die. It was so hard. Ben adds, his voice laced with fatigue, we managed to return somehow. Iliun's expression remains stern as he continues, you must be tired, but you can't rest yet. Raon's eyes widen in surprise as he asks, what? Iliun instructs, Raon and trainees, head to the manor. The group arrives at the manor, where they find the patriarch seated on his throne. Raon and the trainees immediately kneel down, showing their respect to the patriarch. Raon speaks up, his voice filled with deference, "Greetings, my lord." As Raon kneels down, the people around him begin to whisper among themselves. One of them asks another, "Is he that Raon Sieghart?" The other person's eyes widen as they respond, "I heard he slayed the Green War Demon and withstood the Mad Blood Demon's attacks." Another person chimes in, skeptical, "Isn't that just a groundless rumor? He looks like he's only an advanced-level sword user." Raon's thoughts turn inward as he kneels, his eyes cast downward. "I was unsettled at first when the Lord's Manor summoned us," he thinks to himself, "but it turned out to be an unexpected opportunity." His gaze sweeps discreetly across the room, taking in the gathering of high-ranking officials. All of Sieghart's executives are gathered here. Raon's thoughts continue, his mind racing with reflections on the recent mission. "I learned something from this mission," he thinks to himself. "At this rate, I'll have my hands full trying to survive in future battles." Determination fuels his resolve. "That's why I need to get stronger even faster." Raon's gaze sweeps the room once more, taking in the assembled dignitaries. And right now, in this place, the squad leaders and division leaders are gathered, as are even the palace masters from the direct lineage. A hint of intrigue enters his thoughts. That means Glenn Sieghart is paying attention to this incident. Raon's thoughts continue, his understanding of Glenn Sieghart's character guiding his next move. Since Glenn makes a clear difference between public and private matters, he makes sure to reward contributions. Raon's eyes narrow, his determination solidifying. With that in mind, there's only one thing to do now. His thoughts clarify into a singular focus. "I need to prove our achievement and obtain a new martial art to get even stronger." Glenn Sieghart's voice rings out, his words commanding attention. "Raon Sieghart, I heard you were the central figure in this mission. Tell us the details here." Raon's head rises, his eyes meeting Glenn's. He responds with a simple, respectful affirmation. "Understood." Raon begins his account of the events in Cebu village. "It all started when I noticed a probing gaze as soon as we arrived in Cebu village." He recounts how his vigilance led to taking the Green War Demon by surprise. "That's how I took the Green War Demon by surprise when he was looking for the Goblin King's magic stone in the village." Raon continues, describing the unexpected turn of events. "We thought the mission was over, but the Mad Blood Demon suddenly attacked the village, supposedly because he'd lost contact with the others. He explains his decision to act as bait, prioritizing the safety of the village. And I volunteered to act as bait, worried that the damage would escalate if we faced him with only trainees." The room falls silent, with one of the higher officials looking stunned, unable to respond. The higher official's face turns red with rage as he shouts, "You bastard, where do you think you are to be telling such lies?" He turns to Glenn Sieghart, appealing to his lord's judgment. "My lord, do you really believe he is telling the truth?" The official's tone drips with disdain as he continues, "The Green War Demon alone should have been enough to annihilate some 15-year-old teenagers." He sneers at Raon's claim about facing the Mad Blood Demon. Holding his ground against the Mad Blood Demon is a blatant fabrication. Raon's voice rings out, calm and collected. "Dorian, take those out." Dorian's eyes widen in surprise, and he stammers, "Ununderstood." Despite his initial hesitation, Dorian carefully opens the cloth he's been carrying, revealing the contents to the higher official and Glenn Sieghart. One of the higher official's eyes widen in shock as he exclaims, "The Green War Demon and Mad Blood Demon's helmets." Another official's voice trembles with surprise. "Does that mean his report is actually true?" Raon's voice rings out, respectful and cautious. "My lord, excuse me, but may I draw my sword?" Glenn Sieghart's expression remains calm, his voice authoritative. "You are allowed to draw your sword." Raon's hand moves swiftly, drawing his sword from its sheath. As he does, he releases his aura, unleashing a fierce energy. The air around him erupts in a dazzling display as his fire aura surrounds his sword, casting a fiery glow across the room. The room erupts in a chorus of amazed voices. "Aura Blade, it's such a powerful flame too." Someone else's voice is laced with incredulity. "Is he really the same person whose mana wasn't even average during the judgment ceremony 10 years ago?" Another person's eyes widen in realization. "It's true that he could indeed defeat the Green War Demon with that." Raon's voice cuts through the murmurs, his gaze locked on Glenn Sieghart. "Is that enough of an explanation?" he asks, his tone calm and confident, seeking the patriarch's acknowledgement. The high-ranking official's face twists in a mixture of anger and shock as he thinks to himself, "You damned half-blood." His inner monologue continues, laced with frustration and admiration. He really reached the expert realm. The official's eyes narrow, recalling the evidence Raon presented. He even brought Eden's helmets. His thoughts conclude with a reluctant acceptance. "I can't refute any further." Glenn Sieghart's voice fills the room, his tone authoritative and approving. "Listen, Raon Sieghart, the top trainee, and all the trainees from the 5th and 6th training grounds." The patriarch's gaze sweeps across the room, his eyes meeting those of the trainees. "You did an excellent job." Raon's thoughts reveal the significance of Glenn's words. Because of Glenn's unexpected compliment and encouragement, it wasn't just us. Everyone in the Lord's Manor was stunned. He recalls Glenn's usual demeanor. The best praise Glenn had given before was "good job," no matter how difficult the mission. Raon highlights the rarity of Glenn's high praise. Yet, for the first time in dozens of years, he had called our work excellent. The trainees' emotional reactions are palpable. Some of the trainees even wiped away tears while holding their breaths upon hearing the compliment. Raon reflects on the conclusion of the ceremony. "After that, I finished my report, showed the Goblin King's magic stone, and told him about Eden's goal, which I'd managed to discover. In the end, all the other trainees were bestowed with a bronze tablet, and a silver tablet was given to me." Before the ceremony concluded, Raon walks away from the patriarch, a hint of disappointment in his thoughts. "TSK, were my expectations too high?" He reflects on his unmet hopes. "I thought I'd be able to get a separate reward for figuring out Eden's goal." Raon's disappointment is palpable as he considers the consequences. "In the end, I'll have to give up on a new martial art." Wrath's voice cuts through Raon's thoughts, laced with criticism. "You didn't gain anything after giving him such important information. You can't get any more foolish." Raon's inner monologue reveals his disappointment and regret. "I started to trust Glenn a little after getting the 10,000 Flames cultivation, but I shouldn't have done that." Butler Ren's voice breaks the silence. "Sir Raon, may I have a moment?" Raon turns around, in surprise, and he thought, "Ren, why is he suddenly asking me?" Ren's expression remains composed as he continues, "May I visit the annex building tonight at midnight?" Raon's curiosity is piqued and he asks Ren, "Tonight? What business do you have?" Ren's smile hints at a hidden meaning. "The head of the house asked me to bring you, Sir Raon." Wrath's voice chimes in, offering an interpretation. "He must be planning to give you your second reward." What a thrilling conclusion to this chapter. Will Raon get his second reward or not? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you all for joining me on this adventure. If you're eager to find out what happens next, let me know in the comments. Ask for more chapters, and I'll do my best to deliver. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more manhwa recaps and manhwa content. Until next time, stay tuned.